This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I break down the biggest news coming out of college football, and that is that Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan and heading to Los Angeles to coach the Chargers. We talk about the other big moves happening in the NFL coaching carousel and focus on the NFL playoffs of the games that happened last week and the NFC and AFC Championship games this week. And finally, we break down the 2024 Hall of Fame class that's heading to Cooperstown. All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are back. Ben and Josh are here to talk sports. I was trying to rap, but that didn't really work. But no, we are here and excited to talk to you about the craziness of the winter. Like, you know, Josh, I was thinking about this the other day.
Craziness of the winter?
Yeah, to me, it's kind of crazy because you think about, like, you know, in the winter in Ohio specifically, you know, you have a lot of days with a lot of snow, and there's some days that are like, you know, just calm days, nothing crazy. I feel like that's what it's been like this kind of off season for football, for, you know, baseball, all these different things. It feels like we have moments of like just craziness, and then we have moments of like, okay, it's kind of settled, but then bam, right back at it, you know, with news this week. So what has your life been like has it been crazy, Josh, the last few days, I should say? Or you've been kind of chill?
More chill. We've been having fog because of the warmer temperatures over here lately.
See,
And by
that's what I said.
by warmer, I mean like 45 degrees. But other than that, no, it's been same old stuff, man. Watching these playoff games when I can,
Yeah.
and enjoying some all-you-can-eat boneless wings at Applebee's. Watching the games on Sunday was a blast. So
Sounds like a great evening.
it was, yeah. I had to tap out after 3 rounds, so I was disappointed in myself. But
You're losing it, man. You're getting old.
yeah,
You're losing it.
I am.
There is
Can't
a lot of
bulk
crazy.
past 200 pounds.
There is a lot of craziness going on. And I know you might be like, are they going to talk about anything other than football? Yes. Yes, we are today. We are going to talk about some other sports other than football because you know what? We're a variety show. Parts of the year. But no, we are going to start with football. And Josh, the biggest news that came out of anywhere came out of Ann Arbor. Lovely. And it was Harbaugh is leaving Michigan and is heading off to the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, we're getting the playoff games, but I really want to open up with the show with this because I think it's like things we knew was going to happen, but we're like, will he do this whole, you know, oopsie daisy again and then go back to Michigan? But it's finally official. Your first initial thoughts of where he landed and the decision itself.
I think the Chargers is the best situation for him to go to out of all
agreed.
those other teams. Washington is trying to get like a whole different culture going on over there and just acquiring talent to get into the building. Falcons got like a decent amount of young offensive guys and not a whole lot of help on the defensive side. And then you got who else is looking? The Patriots already hired.
Everyone else already
Titans
hired.
already hired. Yeah. So the Chargers, like, you get to come in here and you get talent like Khalil Mack and Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert to start off with. It's an offense that doesn't run the way that Michigan's offense does. I don't know how much he's going to try to affect that, or if he will just play to the Charger strengths like he played to Michigan's strengths. But I think it's a good fit there. He also played with the Chargers when he was in the NFL. You could say that there's a lot of reasons he did this move. It's because that he thinks that there's sanctions coming and he needs to get out of there. There's kids that are graduating Michigan and they're going to fall off next year with a harder schedule, and he needs to get out that way. But Harbaugh's been trying to get to NFL for years.
Yeah. I mean,
this is just like he finally built the stock with the national championships. Like, why you go and win a national championship to leave? It's like because you want to be in the NFL.
Yeah, and
that's how I kind of see it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, even you look at what was it like 2 years ago? Like he like told Michigan that he like was going to accept the Minnesota Vikings job, and then actually never got the job. It was really awkward. And I think he learned his lesson. I think he kind of learned his lesson, like, you know, and again, I agree with you. I think like he came to, you know, he stayed at Michigan, I feel like to, you know, get that over the hump, you know, get Michigan over that hump and getting him back to the top. And again, I agree with you, everything you said. Like, I think the Chargers makes the most sense. I mean, he's coached in California, at Stanford, at 49ers, you know, like he played in California. Like in a weird way, I guess that makes sense. It's also cool to get the Harbaugh Bowl back. they'll play one time during the regular season, which would be kind of fun again.
Mm-hmm.
Which I am glad he went to the NFC, because I think it's kind of cool if they make it in the Super Bowl again, which they did do.
They're both in the
back in the day.
AFC, brother.
They are. Wait, never mind. No, the Chargers aren't in the NFC. But hey, they could still make the championship, the AFC Championship game.
They can
So
play an
there's a
AFC
chance.
Championship.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the interesting thing about this, and this was something that was brought up, is, why did he leave? And I know you mentioned it. There's part of me, and I know I've heard rumblings just from different sources I've been listening to and things like that. And it seems like everyone's on the same page, where they're like, the NCAA is still going to do something. Now, Harbaugh really liked to deny a lot of things, and then he claims, oh, we didn't do anything. It's really interesting how this whole thing's playing out. But it's also very fascinating that the two guys that are going with him, supposedly, are the defensive coordinator and his son, the special teams coach, which were two of the guys that were kind of involved with this whole situation in some form or fashion. So to me, I just think it's almost set up way too nicely to kind of feel like this is just a move that only makes sense for him. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Justin Minner's like one of those guys you're talking about, and he's been in the NFL before, actually coaching with John, defensive coordinator over there. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see. Like, again, I'm not saying that anything's going to happen. I just know that there are a lot of people that believe strongly that the NCAA is going to kind of make Michigan a lesson for people to look at and realize that you can't go behind and do these kind of things. And I just think it's very interesting. But I do want to say this, Josh, because as an Ohio State fan, when Ryan Day took over, right? What was the thing, right? He was born on third base, right?
Yes,
right, that was the thing. And it's very funny because if Sharon Moore takes over as coach, I'm not saying that he's born on third base. I'm just saying that it's very, very oddly similar to what happened. What happened to Ryan Day? He was a three game interim coach, and then after that he became the head coach. So I'm just saying, again, Josh, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just kind of looking at the facts here, and it does feel like someone's going to be born on third base.
It's very similar paths that they do. I'm surprised they haven't already made the announcement to hire Sharon Moore, just because of the continuity that you can get by keeping a guy in there that has run Jim Harbaugh's offense, knows the players.
Yeah.
Just after seeing the Nick Saban leaving Alabama situation, Kalen DeBoer leaving Washington situation, just all the players that they lost over there, it's like, I think you're going to lose players regardless because Jim Harbaugh's leaving, but you could maybe limit the amount that are going to leave if you bring in a guy that people know that, the culture is going to stay the same. The schemes are going to stay the
Ryan
same.
Day. Like when Ryan Day took over.
I mean, a little different philosophically than Urban Meyer, especially at the quarterback position, but even still, somebody that everybody in the locker room knew. And that was also way before all the NIL and transfer portal stuff really were ramping up too. But yeah, I mean, you could make that argument for sure that if Ryan Day is born on third base, at least Sharon Moore's coaching career could be starting off on third base. I would give him a couple years just because, like I said, next year's schedule is going to be really tough. Let's see how he recruits if he can maintain the ship. But I will point out too that even being born on third base, his record against Ryan Day is 1-0 already.
No, I agree. I understand.
I had to throw that in there. I had to throw that little jab there. I'm just
saying, the biggest thing I'm saying is, like, I just get so tired I get so tired of Michigan fans over the last, like, I don't know, few years where they keep saying this, and it's just like, now I just feel like if they say it again, I'm just going to look at them and go, name me the difference. Because the guy that was in the program, a part of the program, takes over after a head coach. And again, the only reason they haven't announced it, I did read, is that Michigan law, you have to post it public for like 7 days before you can actually like officially hire someone. So I think that's the big thing behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, it was very interesting. Someone on a Ohio State podcast asked a question, and I wanted you to answer this question. If you are in a imagine you're a Ohio State fan, right? Would you rather have Jim Harbaugh stay to beat him while he's coaching Michigan, kind of have that revenge game, or does it not really matter and it's just like, hey, it's the game, I'm going to beat whoever's coaching that team? Like, what do you feel like if you were in that situation, if it was maybe a different rivalry but kind of the same idea?
I think it's the game.
I agree,
honestly.
1000%.
Yeah, I mean, if you beat Michigan, it's the same as Sherrone Moore's the head coach or Jim Harbaugh's the head coach.
Yeah, and
honestly.
it's the same as Jim Tressel when he beat Rich Rodriguez. Do you think that's an impressive win to beat Rich Rodriguez? No, but it's still beating Michigan.
Yeah, and I think that was going to be, I guess, my argument for the other side is like Urban Meyer beat Michigan 7-0 against them, but then you look at the teams that he was facing, and some of those were Jim Harbaugh teams, but still, some of those were Rich Rodriguez, some of those were Brady Hoke, and
Brady Joke.
Obviously it wasn't the Michigan team that they have now, but I would blanket it and say like a win over your rival is going to taste good regardless of who the head coach is.
So we talked about that. Obviously, that's big news coming out of Ann Arbor. There's also big news with Carolina getting their new head coach, which I believe his name, I can never say his name. It's Canales. Is that his name, right? He's from Buccaneers.
It's just a lot of people that I haven't heard of, dude, getting head coaching jobs.
So he's an OC from Tampa Bay. He was obviously Baker, which I think is very funny considering he's going to coach the team that released Baker. I just think it's funny. Supposedly they're bringing him in to be a quarterback guru, kind of in a way, because he helped, Geno. He helped, all these different quarterbacks that he's worked with. And then you have I believe in Tennessee, they hired
Brian Callahan from the
Cincinnati.
Bengals, who I'm very worried.
I'm very worried because you know who his dad is.
Yeah, our offensive line coach in Cleveland.
I'm very worried. I'm like, just pay him whatever he needs. The Browns, Cleveland, pay whatever he needs. Keep him. I need him there. But yeah, so he's from the Bengals, which you mentioned. Who else got hired? I believe
Falcons hired Raheem Morris.
Yes, right. Raheem Morris, who was a former head coach back in 2010, I believe, 2010, 2011.
It was a little while ago, but Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah, so a while ago. I think it's an interesting hire to me. I don't really understand it that much, but again, that one's the weirdest I think out of all of them, because I feel like it's not a guy that necessarily, it's not a flashy name. Like I thought for sure that's where Bill Belichick was going to go. Like I was almost certain.
They interviewed him twice. It looked like it was going to shock me if they made the hire. But
now my question to you is, do you see Bill Belichick going to either the Seahawks or I don't see him going to the Commanders because it's a rebuild. Seahawks makes sense in a way because you have a kind of a veteran, not necessarily a veteran, but you have a lot more veteran guys. You have a team that's close to winning. Do you think that could be a fit, or do you think this might be a Bill Belichick where he's maybe realizing like maybe it's past me in a sense?
I've been thinking that Bill's done coaching games passing by since he parted ways with New England. I really don't think that anybody else is going to entertain him, and I'm surprised the Falcons even gave him 2 interviews. But even from his end, is like I don't know what you'd see in Washington that'd be appealing. And yeah, the Seahawks are kind of in a more winning situation with more veterans.
Still very young.
Yeah, they still need a couple pieces over there too.
And how would he mesh with Pete Carroll? Because obviously Pete Carroll is going to be in that front office in some capacity. And is he willing to just coach? Like that's the biggest thing with Bill Belichick. Is he willing to just go in there and coach? Not worry about anything else, just coach. And that's where I'm going, I don't know about that.
Yeah, me neither. I think he's going to want a little more control. That's just how the role he's always had.
I truly believe, Josh, that the best thing could happen to Bill Belichick is that him and Nick Saban start a podcast. I shared that on the story of our Instagram. I think it'd be a great podcast. Imagine those 2 dudes just talking football. I think it'd be phenomenal.
That'd be the most we'd ever hear Bill talk, too.
It would.
The most that we've ever heard from him in his career is honestly, we're just getting ready for the Jets.
Yeah, we're just getting ready for the Jets.
Or whoever they play on Sunday.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But no, yeah, it's awesome. See all this different movement. That's what's great about football. And we will be having out as soon as some more of obviously the playoffs end, we'll come out with our mock drafts here in the next probably few weeks after things kind of get settled down, which will be really fun because we always know Josh and I are always correct on our mock drafts. They're never wrong. They're always correct. I mean, Josh is usually pretty close we're both usually pretty close at the beginning, and then we just get in our heads and we start thinking, oh, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then
tough to factor in trades too.
Yeah, it's true. Trades last year screwed us. But anyways, moving on to playoff football, Josh, your favorite time of the year. Josh, let's talk about these games. Why don't we lead into this? Why don't you lead into this?
Yeah, let's talk with the games that I guess were a little more quick and easier to predict. Baltimore over Houston.
I was hoping, man. I was praying.
Yeah, I know. You were hoping that the CJ Stroud train could continue to go on, but
it looked okay.
Still a rookie, still hasn't played in many
He's
cold
good
weather
though, man.
games.
He's good.
Yeah, but he is a good player, and we're going to see him a lot more in the playoffs, I feel like, in the future.
Do you think he's smarter than that test showed?
Yeah, I think that that IQ test is going to have
So
to
dumb.
either lose its weight or
I
get
mean,
eliminated or something. I don't think it really matters
he
anymore.
proved, man. He proved himself this year. And also Lamar, I think, proved that he's the MVP. Like he's good.
We're seeing a much fresher Lamar.
Yes.
I think the fact he didn't run so much in the regular season is
Yep.
really going a long way because he's always had the injuries and health concerns in November. And we got a much more fresher Lamar. And I mean,
Yep.
he was running. I think he had 2 or 3 scores on the ground
Yeah,
in
he had
that
100
game.
yards rushing.
Yeah,
Back to old Lamar,
back to old Lamar
which
that
is
we're
scary
we're
for any
used to
team.
seeing. It is. I think that, and we'll talk about it later. Kansas City's going to have their hands full with him,
Yep.
but it's going to be fun. They also are going to get Mark Andrews back, activated
Yep.
off the IR today. But Baltimore was my Super Bowl pick. Beating
Yep.
Houston wasn't a shock to me. Uh, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I mean, I think. Sorry, I think the biggest thing is just that I think CJ. But I do what I want to talk about the Texans because I think what they did this year is just it's impressive. You know what they did and how they got there. I think what it proved though, Josh, is that rookie quarterbacks can win in this league. I think for many years we just thought they're going to have a rough first year. They might have an okay first year, but I think it proves that if you build around the team correctly, it can work. And that's what really impressed me. And like you said, Lamar Jackson, he looked like that game. If you remember the game, I think it was against Syracuse, maybe when he had like 400 yards passing and 180 yards rushing back in college. Like that's what that reminded me of. This game was just like he just could pick and choose what he wanted to do.
Yeah, Houston Texans are definitely ahead of schedule. We're
Yes.
seeing rookie quarterbacks get put in kind of win now situations too. Baker Mayfield set the touchdown record as a rookie. Then
Yep.
Justin Herbert broke that as a rookie, and then CJ came around as a rookie and actually brought his team to the playoffs. We've seen Brock Purdy last year
Yep.
as a Mr. Irrelevant lead his, or I won't say lead, but take a team to the playoffs, quarterback a team in the playoffs, and is back at it in his second season. So these younger quarterbacks, they can. I just won't. I'm not going to always expect it. You
Oh,
got
for
your
sure.
you got your Jordan Love situations that might be more
Yeah.
projects that are working out, which we can talk about that game. They almost got it done against the 49ers.
Yeah, that game, I was like shocked because I think that not shocked necessarily. Like, I think the Packers are a lot. I think the Packers were very underrated this year. I think we both underrated them. Like I feel like we didn't really talk about if they were going to be good or not. We kind of just both said they were going to be okay. And I think what it proved was Jordan Love really did an Aaron Rodgers what Aaron Rodgers did. He waited his time. He learned how to play quarterback. And the in a weird way, the Packers kind of built around him, which is really weird to say, but they kind of got a team that worked for him and an offensive line that's always good. And a defense is pretty solid as well. And I think it showed the 49ers do have more weaknesses than I think we realize, which I think does give us maybe a little concern about them in the future. But again, I think the Packers just proved that, hey, they're also here, just like the Texans.
Yeah, Green Bay was one of those teams. I think they had to win their last 3 games to
Mm-hmm.
be able to get that 7th seed. So they were one of the hotter teams coming in. And 49ers coming off of a bye, I know that's always hard, and it's always a
Yeah.
topic of conversation in the playoff why you don't really want to rest guys if you have a bye in the last week of the season either, because just having too much of that time off can really throw you off your rhythm. But they got it done at the end. I know people have been arguing about whether or not that was a comeback led by Brock Purdy or not, and I'm not really gonna
It's a win.
throw. I don't really feel one way or another about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, they got it done. They survived this
Yeah.
week, and now they move on to the Detroit Lions, who it was a close game with Tampa Bay. I'll say it for a little while there. I mean, Baker had an opportunity in the final 2 minutes to lead him down to
Yeah.
a potential game tying, send it to overtime drive. But I was looking at my buddy I was watching the game with. I was like, we're Browns fans, man. He's either going to get sacked all 3 plays or throw a pick or something like that, and they're not going to get anywhere close. And sure enough, throws a pick on the first or
Yeah.
second play. And I'm like, yeah, that was never Baker's strength, 2 minute
No.
drills and stuff like that. But Detroit gets by. That was what we had picked. Win by, 8 points, I think it was. They looked really good. They're looking really good. It's
I
going to be tough
I
picking
mean,
between Detroit and
it's gonna
San
be tough.
Francisco, but
I mean, Aiden Hutchinson is a man.
hmm
That dude
they were getting
is
after Mayfield
oh my
too.
goodness. And the
Yeah,
thing is Mayfield's never been great when he can't be on rhythm, Mayfield's always struggled. Like when he can't get in that rhythm that he really gets going and flowing, like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like he really struggles, and the Lions realize that. Again, this Lions offense is so weird because if you look at it like on just a list of paper, you're like, okay, this offense, yeah, they got some guys, but they just get it done. Like I don't know how sometimes, but this team, this is America's team, and it's cool like to talk to people I know that are Lions fans. You know, they're crying, they're so happy, and like as a Browns fan, it's just like it angers me a little bit because I'm just like, man, I want to feel that. I want to feel us in the AFC Championship game. You know, I want to feel us a 1 win away from a Super Bowl. But Detroit's a lot like Cleveland. Like they deserve this opportunity, and I think that the team's playing for the city. And I truly believe that. There's not many teams in the NFL right now that are playing truly for their city, and I really feel like the Detroit Lions are going to make a name for themselves this year.
Imagine being in the state of Michigan and Wolverines coming off.
Oh my dude, don't even tell me, man. It's just gonna be
yeah, and then you get to maybe experience a Super Bowl here.
That's just. Then you got the Detroit Tigers, so you know it levels out after.
Yeah, and then you got the Tigers and the Pistons to bring you back down to reality.
Brings you right back to reality. Realize you're not the sport capital.
Remind you that you're not the sport capital of the world exactly,
yeah.
But it's a good time to be a fan of Michigan football teams right now for sure.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Unless you're a Michigan State fan.
Of course. Bringing it to the final and the best playoff game I think we saw was the Bills and the Chiefs.
You were watching a game? I was watching Jason Kelce take his shirt off and Taylor Swift every 5 seconds. I didn't really know what game I was watching halfway through that. I didn't really know which one was happening.
I think what I learned 2 things. So first off, to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, you need to be either perfect or more than perfect.
Yes.
Because the Bills had more first downs, more third down conversions,
yeah, they had like everything.
More time of possession, more total yards. They had less turnovers. And it still wasn't enough. They were still having to line up at the end to kick a field goal to send it to overtime, and missed it
terribly, dude.
Missed it wide right. I think it was 44 yards. I know there was wind, and he had made a 29-yarder earlier
too. By the way, he got death
that's
threats.
Tough, but it's just like you outplay the Chiefs like that, and even still, it's like you're fighting to send it overtime and can't get it done. So that was the first thing I learned because Mahomes wasn't all that impressive either. I'll say, but. It's just something about it. Even in the Super Bowl, he had a couple picks against the Eagles. He didn't have 200 yards, but it's just like you got to really, for some reason,
they come
be
alive,
on your A game to beat them.
They come alive in the playoffs sometimes.
Yeah, the Chiefs are a really good playoff football team.
And they got Andy Reid, who's like one of the best coaches of all time.
But the second thing I learned is that even all that being said, Damar Hamlin getting the football on a fake punt from the own 29 showed me that Buffalo didn't care about winning that game anyway.
Agreed.
They're out here giving it's almost like a Make-A-Wish kid in a spring game in college football, the ball, and then let him run a touchdown and feel that and have all the crowd cheer. And it's like they're forcing this guy that shouldn't even have a job that has cost his team a game this season with being the 12th man on the field. It's like, would have been great if he was cut and not on the team at this point. And then you feed him the ball here in this situation. It's like calling a fake on your own, 30 is one thing, and it's like that's the guy you want to give the ball to. It's like, what you think was going to happen? It's like
he's not even like a running back, not a wide receiver. It's you don't know.
I don't want to hate Damar Hamlin. I think it's cool that he didn't pass away after all that, but it's like they're trying to make him into something he's not, and it's just cringe.
And it's very cringy, and it's also frustrating because you have guys like Baker Mayfield and Joe Flacco who truly have come back from terrible seasons, and they're making a difference. And nothing against Damar Hamlin, but the dude has 20 tackles on the year.
Not even 20. I think he only had 2.
You can't tell me that a guy that is, first off, going back to the punt, what on God's green earth is that what are you doing? It's one thing if you put your best receiver, or maybe you do a trick play that it kind of throws it off with the punter running or whatever. But it's like the Chiefs were like, okay, yeah, we know what's coming. It's just to me, it just feels like they're trying to make it a national case for something that is just, if you're truly a football fan, you realize has no place anywhere close to where it's got to be.
He had 2 tackles all season long, is what it was.
You can't tell me this is a comeback play. If he wins comeback the player of the year, I will never really truly take any of the awards seriously. I already struggle taking him seriously, and I'm really not going to take it seriously after that. Because to me, that just shows me that you're all about the narrative and you're not about the results on the field. I thought like football was about results, winning, losing, stats. Like I thought that's what matters. But I guess now it's about what can get us the most political views. And you know what they're going to say. If he doesn't win it, they're going to say a bunch of other things. And it's just like, all right.
Oh, I'm sure Robert
whatever.
Griffin will have an opinion.
Oh, he will have an opinion 100% because he thinks that every black guy has, is the best ever. And okay, this is the other thing on a tangent here, but the whole like black versus white team thing, like I love how like if a white guy said that, it would be so like picked apart. Do you know what I mean? Like I like there's just like these things that like the NFL is becoming now where I'm like, I just that's why I love college football because at least in college football we're at least seeing like it's less of that. Like we still see it, but it's like less of it. And I think that's what like I think is scaring a lot of people away from the NFL.
Dan Campbell is one game away from the Super Bowl, and 3 years ago when he got that job, he was being discredited, and Detroit was being hammered because they're giving the head coaching job to this guy.
Yeah.
Who,
by the way,
and it was a
represents
whole
the
white
city.
black thing, like saying that he wasn't qualified and that he's only getting the job because of his color or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and you've been to Detroit, right? Have you been to Detroit?
yep.
Yeah. Who better out of all the coaches of the NFL fits Detroit better than Dan Campbell?
It's incredible, like what a cultural fit it is.
It's perfect. Like Kevin Stefanski, kind of like he's an okay fit for Cleveland, but Dan Campbell would also fit in Cleveland. Like just a hard, gritty nose guy. That's what fits in those kind of cities.
Ultimately, a fit to me is like if you're gonna win or not.
Yes.
And Dan Campbell is not only winning, but I think he reflects the city.
Yes.
And the culture of that team perfectly.
Yes. But
it's
speaking of we just talked about the Chiefs winning. This coming week we have Chiefs versus Ravens.
Yes.
Which is going to be a very unique game because I think it can go one way or the other. I really think it could be closer than I think people realize. I'm interested to hear what are your thoughts on this game and where are you leaning and what is your score prediction? Because we know Josh loves score predictions on this show.
Yeah, I'm actually just getting the game pulled up here to see if the line moved at all. It is Baltimore -4 right now.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But over under 44.5, so they're expecting lower scoring game. It is going to be in Baltimore, but regardless whether it was Baltimore or Kansas City, it was going to be cold.
That's true.
In the cold, I do like Baltimore. I think, like I've been saying, the reason why I like them is this is how they're built.
Yeah.
The defense, the grit, the number one rushing offense in the country, and like I just said, Lamar's running, it seems like with fresher legs, and that's just something you got to be worried about. One thing I think Baltimore can't do, though, even still, is try to go toe-to-toe or punch for punch with Patrick Mahomes through the air.
No.
If Kansas City tries to make this a game through the air, I don't know that Baltimore is going to be able to keep up with that, and I think they would be smart to stick to their strengths in this game as long as they can. If it gets
rely on the defense.
Yeah. I don't think Kansas City is ever going to get to a point where they're going to like extend the lead by 2 scores. But even still, it's like Baltimore, I think they got to stick to what has gotten them here. And at the same time, too, like I just said, is like Josh Allen in Buffalo outplayed KC nearly like to perfection, and it still wasn't enough. Baltimore's going to have to bring their A game in this one. I still like them. That was my original Super Bowl pick, and I'm going to stick with them. But it is a game that could be a toss-up and go either way. But I kind of do lean on the lower scoring side. I don't think as low as like that 44.5. I mean, at that point you're saying it's gonna be like 24-20, and I'm thinking more like in the 28-24 range. So maybe a little bit higher, but I'll give Baltimore 28 and KC 24.
Look at that. I love when Josh gives a prediction. It just feels so good. No, I'm also sitting here kind of in that same boat. Like, so I work at a school that the sister school of this school is based in Maryland, and most of the teachers I worked with last year are Baltimore Ravens fans. They're the director of our school, the owner of our school is a Baltimore Ravens fan. So I hear it. As a Browns fan, I just hate to see the Ravens just might go to another Super Bowl. But when I look at this game unbiasedly, I do agree with you. I do think the Ravens, I think just maybe overall, like with defense combined with that offense, and again with the X factor of Lamar being able to run, I just feel like if it comes down to it and they're realizing, hey, we can't do this gun, they're shooting, it's a shootout, then they're going to be like, hey, let's slow it down. And so I think I'm going to give the edge to the Ravens. I do think, though, I agree with you that if it is a shootout, like there's no way the Ravens win. I just think that Patrick Mahomes is too good at what he does. But I'm going to go Ravens win this game. I'm going to say 31-24. I'm going to say 31-24. Chiefs just don't have enough at the end to come out on top.
And again, I think getting Mark Andrews back is going to be huge.
Yes, huge. Yeah,
I know Isaiah Likely had a touchdown. Yeah, Isaiah Likely had a touchdown last week. Filling in at tight end and is a solid backup option. But having Mark Andrews, like you said, that's his guy.
Yeah.
So on the other side, I think the Detroit-San Francisco game is equally hard to predict here. I think on one end you got
close.
Detroit with the whole America's team approach and everybody's rooting for them, and it's younger guys that are getting excited to be here, and then the 49ers
veteran presence,
way more talent on the roster too.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they got like top 5 guys at almost all the positions, but then you got a more unhealthy Deebo Samuel, which I think also played a factor into Green Bay being able to keep it as close as they did, and we don't know how healthy he's going to be this week. And then you got that concern of, well, I'm not going to say concern. I'm trying not to read too much into the Green Bay game and just let it be a one-off. I don't think that's like the true San Francisco 49ers, but I think we did learn that Deebo is important. I trust that Kyle Shanahan will come up with a game plan that is not going to include him as much, or if they do or are able to have him play, that they use him in like a limited capacity, but find ways to get the ball and make plays. And then you got Brock Purdy, man. Last year at this time, the NFC Championship game with the Eagles, you see him go down, and then you see Josh Johnson go down, and then it's just Christian McCaffrey taking Wildcat, and now the 49ers are getting their fair crack at it, I guess, with a quarterback in a big game like this, and I just don't think that they're going to let this slip through their hands. Again, I think they're going to have that in mind from what happened last year and not let it happen again. All the talent over there, and they're also a team that is built, I think, to play in the winter too, just with the run game that you got there with McCaffrey, and I think that they can handle. I know Detroit got after Baker Mayfield last week in the pass rush and stuff like that, but I trust San Francisco more in the trenches in this one on the offensive and defensive sides as well. Jared Goff is gonna have to be playing the game of his life in this one. I feel like he's not gonna have as much time as Brock. I feel like to see the field and make plays. I think San Francisco's also gonna be able to get a big enough lead that Detroit's gonna have to go to that pass and have to avoid giving the ball to Gibbs and Montgomery, which is something that they really like doing too in the run game. But give me San Francisco 33-23.
That's interesting.
Locking that in.
Yeah, for me, it's weird because I'm with you. Like I think it is America's team, Lions. And I believe that I chose either the 49ers or the Lions for the Super Bowl. I can't remember.
I chose the Niners for the Super Bowl, so I'm not going to go away from it.
I think I chose the 49ers. I can't remember though, because I chose the Browns and then I chose some other team, but I didn't really care about that part. I've been tossing in my head, like as I was preparing for the episode, I was like all day, like trying to like figure out like which side am I going to go on. And I kind of came down to this. There's times in the playoffs where there's just narratives that just seem to not go away. And to me, this Lions narrative, it's almost like the perfect season for it to happen, right? It kind of feels like, again, the Michigan thing. There's just something about this whole narrative that just seems to keep aligning. And again, I agree with you. They're very young. I don't, they're definitely not as talented as the 49ers. But let's be honest, this whole year they've been beating teams that they're not as talented as. I believe their coaching staff is phenomenal, and just the passion that they've been playing with. Again, the Deebo Samuel does worry me a little bit because he's been such an X factor throughout the whole year, and I just, I feel like the Lions are built, I think, in the right way to maybe slow down this 49ers offense. The question is, will the Lions offense wake up? And I'm just going to go out on a limb here, just because my whole playoff prediction has been terrible. And I'm going to say Lions come out on top I want to say like a game-winning field goal or something like that. It's going to be, I'm going to say 30-27. Lions are going to the Super Bowl, and Aaron Lynn is crying in his basement.
I'll tell you what, I'm rooting for it.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
It doesn't sound like you've been paying attention to your picks as much as I have, but that first week, Ben, I went 1-5 in my picks.
So listen,
last week I went 4 for 4, so now I'm even 5-5.
I've had 1 and then 2. I think I got 1 right and then 2 right. So I've really just been off. So I just stopped caring after that one.
Yeah,
after
I'm
those,
even 5-5 right now in playoff picks, and we'll see what this week brings. But yeah,
it is what it is.
Tough.
And then we get to talk about next week.
And
next week we get to talk about the Super Bowl, which would be freaking awesome. But
for a couple weeks.
Speaking of, before Super Bowl, you obviously had the Pro Bowl, and not speaking of the Pro Bowl, but I think it's the perfect transition into talking about basketball. Josh, we're bringing up another sport, Josh.
Oh,
it's entered the chat.
Big basketball podcast. That's the logo of our name.
That's the thing is like, and we barely talk about it. And we're on an old show called the Four Court Press, which also is basketball like focused, and yet we don't talk about basketball as much. But
big basketball podcast.
You brought up an interesting stat before we started recording about LeBron James. Would you like to share that, and then maybe that can transition into the All-Star starters that were announced?
Yeah, this just speaks to the longevity of LeBron James' career.
He's a crazy freak.
The first player in NBA history to be named to 20 All-Star teams.
So nuts. I mean, he's played 21 years, so 20 out of 21 years he's been on the All-Star team. I think it's 21 years, yes. I believe so. Because 2003 was when he started.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and confirm that to make sure the math checks out. But yeah, I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had 19, and that was the most, and surpassed him there. But yeah, imagine that being at that high of a level,
that age,
this long in your career, because it's like he was legitimately an all-star all those years. It's not like he's getting the most, like those seasons he's getting the most votes. He was because he's the most popular guy in the league still, but
his numbers still,
he's been playing. His numbers still back up. Yeah, he's
dunking over dudes at 38 years old or whatever he is, 36, 37. Like to me, it's just mind-boggling, like what this man is doing at this age.
And it still looks like it's possible that him and Bronny could be playing together next year.
Oh, jeez.
I've been calling it for a couple years, and I know that we probably both agree that Bronny sucks at college basketball right now. Good. So even leaving one and done is going to be like questionable if he even gets drafted. But
you know some team's going to use it as like their ploy to get LeBron. You know that's going to happen.
Yes, I've been thinking that LeBron is going to definitely play out as long as he can. And LeBron does have 21 seasons in the league, by the way, 20-time All-Star.
Look at that. So good.
All of them but the first one. But
would it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if like the Cavs like just draft Bronny for the heck of it, and they just like wave at LeBron and be like, "Hey, hi again.
One more ride, more final ride.
How you doing? Hey, you want to come join us again?" Which, I mean, to be honest, LeBron has always said that like he's never canceled out like coming back that last time, which he has said like. Obviously, he wants to play with Bronny, but I think it wouldn't put me past him if he does like play, a season or a half of a season with the Cavs just to kind of cap off a career. But that's just me. That's me speaking hope. That's what I am speaking hope. But speaking of the All-Star team, yeah, go ahead.
I can go ahead and
I think
give
it's
you the rundown of all the starters.
I don't think I can name them. Can I try to name them? I'm going to try off the top of my head.
Name the 5 starters in the West.
Okay, 5 starters in the West.
LeBron.
Here we go. All right, LeBron. Alexander, right? Oh, I forget his last. Silas.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yep, there we go.
He's there.
Doncic.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with. Ooh.
Those are your guards. So now you got to name the
Jokic.
Jokic is there. Yep.
Okay, that's what. That's 4.
That's 4.
I got 4. Ooh, sweet. Oh, this one's gonna be hard. I feel like it's obvious though. No, wait. Durant.
Kevin Durant. Yep. Voted All-Star.
Yeah. All right, East. Oh, this one's gonna be hard. I feel like there's a lot of new ones.
I wouldn't get the East. I'd only get 3 of the.
So Embiid.
Embiid's there. Yep.
Tatum.
Yep.
Lillard. He was first time starter.
Yes.
Lillard. Giannis.
Yep.
Oh, and last one. Gosh. Oh, Halliburton from Pacers.
Halliburton from the Pacers. Yep.
Oh,
Wow, 10 for 10.
Boom! I didn't look at that since like 10 this morning. Man, I am banking on it. Look at
Wait,
that.
you looked at this at 10 this morning? Is
No,
that what you said?
no, I didn't. Not at all. No,
Oh,
I know the reason I'm saying that is because I glanced. Oh, I glanced at Lillard because I knew Lillard was a first time starter because there was a big thing about that. And I also knew some of them just because of their vote getting, but I didn't know Halliburton. I just guessed because he had a really freaking good year with his assist and turnover ratio. But
yes.
so
So
I
that
did.
is
I
our
saw it go on my feed, but I actually didn't look at it outside of sharing it really quick on our Instagram story. I just share, and then left. So
all-star starters, and you mentioned Joel Embiid, and on the anniversary of
he's a,
Kobe's 81
which is
piece,
so cool.
we see Embiid put up 70 on the
70, dude.
Spurs,
He
on
had
the
what,
last place
70, like
Spurs.
70 and 18 or something like that, which is just ridiculous.
I think so, yeah. I
And
can go
then,
ahead and give you the
well, and even on the same day,
rundown there.
Cat or Karl Anthony Towns in a loss, by the way, scored 63, which I'm just like, as a basketball guy, how do you lose when you score 63? Like, that's so embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Like,
just everyone else was inefficient or he had an inefficient 62. Like, to Embiid's credit, he shot 58%,
that's just
24
really good, dude.
21. Only made 1 3. Also 21 and 23 from the free throw line and 18 rebounds. Yep.
For a big guy, that's really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
also,
incredibly
we talked about it. We talked
efficient.
about before the podcast started. It's really impressive to see a guy that after those injury, like even coming out of college, people kind of like doubted because of the injury history. And look what he's doing now. I mean, this dude is averaging like 35 a game. I mean, it's really
36 right
impressive.
now, leads the NBA points per game. Yep.
Crazy.
Uh,
Crazy.
Also in that game, he did it on, I guess, mostly being defended by Victor Wembanyama.
Who also
Poor
had a
guy.
really good game, by the way. Who
Yeah.
also had a really good game.
He had 33 and 7 and nobody cares.
Also, I just love the new LeBron and Durant comparison we have with Wembanyama and the guy from OKC. What's the guy? Chet Holmgren. I don't know if you saw the
Mhm.
highlights of that, dude. They were going at it. Like they're just
Is
mouthing
Chet
at each
playing good?
other. Oh yeah, Chet's been playing good, but like because he didn't play last year, he's considered a rookie. So you have these two
Oh,
dudes that
okay.
are like they're just going at it. Like and
Yeah.
Wembanyama dunked on him, which by the way, when Wembanyama dunks on someone, he's basically on his tippy toes, which is just mind-boggling to me. Like he doesn't
He
really
can do
jump.
that. Yeah.
He just grabs the rim, which is
Man.
just and I love how Shaq, they asked him, like, "Hey, you know, we've never seen anything like Wembanyama." And Shaq goes, "Yeah, we have. Bol's son, Bol. The one that's like, he's like 7'3". He plays for the Nuggets right now. But he's like, I mean, he's literally the same as Wembanyama. It's just he wasn't as
Wasn't as good.
touted. He
If
was
you're
a touted as progress, as a prospect.
Yeah, the talent ain't there, but like if you're looking for like a similar body,
That's the same.
yeah. Chet though, I'm just checking out his stats right now. Yeah, he's averaging 17 and 7 right now, which good for him because I didn't think that guy would last. But Ben, the dude is 7'1". He's
Yeah.
a whole 15 inches taller than me and still weighs less than I do. I don't know how that's possible.
What does he weigh? Let me guess, like what? 205?
He's listed 7'1", 195.
No, he's not.
Under 200.
195?
Imagine being under 200 and over 7 feet.
Wembanyama's what? 220?
That's
230?
what I was just about to check. Is like if that's him,
Well,
I
because
wonder
I
what
think Wembanyama's a little
Wembanyama's.
thicker. I think he's got like a little more girth to him.
Let's
And plus
see,
he's seven
Victor
four, so
Wembanyama.
he's also like 7'4".
Yeah, he's got a little or a few more inches. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Victor Wembanyama stands 7'4", 210. So
He's
barely
not that
making the
much
cut.
bigger. I mean, it's
Yeah,
really 3 inches and 10 pounds. Like that's not that
yeah.
much bigger. Oh, dude. If I like show like I love how any other skinny guy would just suck at basketball in the NBA, but because they're like 7'2", they just have that extra ability to be skinny.
Yeah, it's like even if a shorter guy like that's 6 feet is thicker and
Just
can
gets
push him around the
destroyed.
paint, he's gonna not be able to get anything up because of the frame. The
Yeah.
frame is still gonna
It's
overtake him,
just
but
ridiculous.
line him up with someone
I mean,
that's like
to be
even in
honest,
height,
it's like Kevin
probably.
Durant because that was the same issue when he came out. He was only about like 180 when he came out of
Yeah,
college. That was the same issue.
man, dude, it's just the big man has changed, man. Imagine Shaq being
Oh, dude,
7'1"
Shaq
and
would take both of those
300.
dudes. He would take both those dudes to lunch.
All those guys. Yeah, you couldn't be under 200 and try to guard Shaq at that
No.
height. No. It's different now, though. Shaq couldn't line up for three, though, and I'm sure these guys can.
Yeah, I know. It is what it is. It's just it is crazy. I mean, I love the NBA, and obviously we're recording today. Yeah, today, right, is on the passing the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's death.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, which was 4 years ago today.
Hmm.
Which again, rest in peace to one of the greatest ever to play the game. Gone too soon, but it shows you life is definitely short. But Josh, to finish up the show today, we said, what are we going to talk about? But the Hall of Fame of baseball.
Baseball
Because
Hall of
of
Fame.
course, Josh and I, we love baseball. If you didn't know that, then I know you probably couldn't tell if you just started listening in the past 4 months. You probably couldn't tell that we love baseball. But Josh and I really do love baseball. When we get into baseball talk, a lot of people get bored because no one really likes listening to baseball talk. But hey, we're here for you, baseball diehard fans. We're here for you. So, Josh, why don't you introduce us to the newest members of Cooperstown?
The 2024 class: Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, and Jim Leland,
All
all
deserved
receiving
it.
at least the 75% needed to get in. And I'm all
All
for it
deserved
too.
it.
Joe Mauer being a catcher and winning 3 batting titles is wild to think about. Adrian Beltre hitting over 400 home runs and getting 3,000 hits, incredible. Todd Helton also a
Should have been in there
wild.
sooner, by the way.
Probably should have been there sooner. I think his best season he hit 372, and I don't think I've seen anybody except
Well, I think
Ichiro really
Well, I
come
think he
close to that.
also, I think with him though, is also like he doesn't have flashy numbers. Like if you look at his overall stats, like they're not like sticking out. But I just think he was so consistent. If you look at his whole career, he hit over 300, always had over a 350 on base percentage. Like he was just very consistent throughout the year, even at the end of his career as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then of
Yeah,
course, you have
find some Todd Helton
Beltre. I mean,
stats.
Beltre was just that dude was just fun to watch, man.
Yeah, I
By
think
the way, he was better with age. He got better after he
that's
turned
what I was gonna
30.
say. He was kind of like a late bloomer. He didn't even make an All-Star team until he was 31 years old. I
And then
think I read.
that's when he just tore it up. Because when he went to the
Yeah,
Rangers, that's when he just started tearing it up.
yeah, yeah. Todd Helton, so 5-time All-Star. So let's see, hits 2,500, 369 home runs. So the totals, it doesn't sound like they're all there, but yeah, he had the one season where he hit 372, which led the league, 147 RBIs, which led the league, 59 doubles, which led the league. That was an incredible
59
season.
numbers, dude. 59
And he
doubles.
only finished 5th in MVP voting that year.
That's just crazy to me.
I'm about to find out who won MVP that year. Freaking Jeff Kent.
Jeff Kent. Jeff freaking Kent.
Jeff Kent won MVP over Barry Bonds,
So,
Mike Piazza, Jim Edmonds, and Todd Helton.
dude, that is just like the most white name of all time. Hey, what's
Yes.
your uncle's name? Jeff Kent. That's who it is. Jeff Kent.
Jeff Kent, man. 33 home runs. So everybody that I just named below had more.
That's crazy to me.
125 RBIs, which was second to Helton, I guess, out of those names.
Still didn't deserve it.
Hit 334, but yeah, like I said, there's guys that were more deserving that season than him.
So you said so we talked about Helton, Beltre, and then we have
Beltre and Joe Mauer. Yeah,
Joe Mauer.
Short career, but super consistent.
That one was very
efficient.
interesting to me. Like I agree that he's a Hall of Famer, but it's just like he's one of the only guys I think you really think of that like had a short career and made the Hall of Fame first ballot. You don't hear many of those guys that have a short career. It's kind of one of those guys that had to earn it, I think, over time. But I think he was just such a freak anomaly where he was 6'5", he was a catcher, and he had like a couple really really good years with Justin Morneau as well on that team. But Joe Mauer, man, I always remember whenever I played like MLB The Show, always got Joe Mauer. Like the lefty swing, he had such a smooth swing from the left-handed side. I always loved Joe Mauer. I just think he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, Joe, man, like you said, freak for a catcher. It seems like in baseball, totals really do matter. Like everybody always is like, well, how many home runs did they hit? How many total hits they had? How many total RBIs? And then the accolades and all that. But it's like for the short amount of time that he did play, hit 306, had 3 batting titles, which became the first catcher to win 3 separate batting titles in their respective league. Voted American League MVP. One of 6 catchers ever to have at least 3 Gold Gloves and 3 Silver Sluggers. So he wasn't just a hitter; he was also really solid behind the plate as well.
Solid.
Yep, and like you said, 6'5", like that's crazy being a catcher at 6'5".
And he transitioned to first base and did really well. Like when he transitioned to first base, he did really well at the end of his career.
Yeah, I know health eventually was
the
reason that he did retire early, which sucked, but
yeah.
What a career for Mauer for sure. And then the guys that just missed the cut were Gary Sheffield,
who's now off the ballot. Which
Now off the ballot.
how do
Yeah.
you feel about that one? Do you feel like he deserved? I feel like he's kind of on the cusp. I don't know if he. I don't
So
know. He played a
Gary
lot of years. He played a lot of years.
Gary hit 500 home runs, and everyone else that's hit 500 career home runs is in the Hall.
Yeah, and it's
I don't know if that's
except
enough.
Except A-Rod.
Yeah. Well, I
Barry.
should say asterisk next to all the guys that had or busted for steroids that also hit 500 that aren't in either.
And he also played for like 22 years. Like he played a long time.
A long career, yeah. So that's kind of like where it's like, is that total really all that impressive given how long he had to play to get that? I don't know. I think you got to balance out eventually longevity with efficiency at some point. And Billy Wagner's another one that's got, I think, 1 or 2 more years left.
Which he should have made it. I mean, that dude was so good. Like I don't know about you. I remember growing up watching him. Like he was the lefty dude you didn't want to face coming out of that bullpen.
Lefty closer, brought some heat. Yep.
And
then just, obviously all the steroid people everybody's always going to talk about. Let me see some of the other names on here.
all the steroid people.
Yeah, all the steroid people. Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Barry Bonds, those kind of people. Other people that were on the ballot that I don't think it was as funny as what you're making.
I just think it's funny because it's like you're like going through the order, like you're like the commissioner, like all right, so these kind of people didn't make it. Steroid users.
Andrew Jones is another one that's been on the ballot for a while that hasn't gotten in.
He should get into it. Have you seen how many Gold Gloves he has? He has like 10 Gold Gloves.
Yeah,
dude, it's so many Gold Gloves.
Also, solid bat with over 400 home runs. What a wide range of coverage you can get in the outfield.
I mean, Pete Rose still didn't make it, which he should be in the Hall of Fame. It's besides the point.
Let's see. Manny Ramirez, yeah. Chase Utley's another one that'll be interesting to see if he ever gets enough.
Jimmy Rollins.
another one. Bobby Abreu.
But Jimmy Rollins, but I think with Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, they were like kind of 1 or 2 years where they were really good, and the rest they were kind of like,
The rest of them, they were just good, not great. Yeah. And I believe in a Hall of Fame, not a Hall of very good.
You have to be great. You have to be great.
Yeah. Not a Hall of good, a Hall of great. I think there's room for definitely Billy Wagner and Andrew Jones to get in there. But, yeah, those other guys like Abreu and Rollins, it's like, yeah, you had a couple good seasons, but I don't know if it's enough.
Pete Rose should make it, but we both know that Pete Rose will never make it. It'll be like after he's dead. Like they'll be like, we're going to give it to him now. He died 4 days ago. Exactly. We're giving it to him now.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to happen. Like, because it's just like they want to like suffer the man, which I don't think he deserves it. Like, yeah, he screwed up then, but stuff has changed since then. You got to change with the time. It's not like he took steroids. And also, he had 4,000 hits. Like, that's just mind-boggling to my head.
4,000 career
hits.
That's
crazy. And it wasn't like Ichiro, who did it in 2 leagues. He did it in 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and the next year, if you want to brief people on next year before we end the show, brief people on next year's some of the next year's names that our first.
Yeah, some of the names I saw they're going to be appearing on the ballot next year for the first time. We got CC Sabathia, Dustin Pedroia, Felix Hernandez, and Ichiro. Actually, will all be there.
And they all should make it. I think Ichiro will be first ballot. I do think Ichiro, CC might be a first ballot as
Ichiro is the only one out of that I would say first ballot for sure. I think Sabathia, give him a couple times and he'll get in.
And I don't know if there's ever been a Japanese player that made the Hall of Fame. He might end up being the first Japanese player to make the Hall.
He was the really first like elite one that had a really long career. Yeah.
Yeah. Hideki Matsui is the only one I can think of that was decent.
Yeah. Before that, you'd have a handful of pitchers that'd come over and play a couple seasons and then be done. But he was the first one. It's like he got the bulk of his career over here and had a heck of a time. I think Felix Hernandez is another one. He won't have like all the total wins, but even from a young age, he just was so good.
Tough with Felix though is at the end of his career he was really bad, like really bad after about a year.
Yeah,
about age 33, he just got real.
He was dominating at an early age, and then he also flamed out at an earlier age, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is tough because I think he's a lot better than what his numbers tell you because he was such a freak.
And Pedroia had the MVP year, but he had a lot of injuries.
But injuries as well. Like, so, dude, can you imagine if you look at some of these guys that were injured and like what they could have become? Yeah, I just think there's so many dudes that could have been phenomenal, for sure. But anyways, anything else you would like to talk about there, Sir Josh?
What do you think about this rumor of a Steph Curry versus Sabrina Ionescu 3-point shootout?
Why? That's
to prove if women are better at sports than men.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
Dude, I don't know, man. What's the point? Like, why do I want to watch it? Like, that's why the NBA just is mind-boggling to me. It's like they do it when we were kids. The NBA All-Star Game was so much fun to watch, and now I feel like it's just like this joke. It's just like this. Hey,
Yeah,
we're gonna do
NBA
all these
All-Star
things.
Weekend is a big joke, and it really has no reason to be. The NFL's All-Star Week with Pro
Is
Bowls
also a
and all
joke.
that has all the reason in the world to be a joke.
That's true.
And the NBA's has all the reasons to be the best, and it
And they've
still
ruined
somehow
it.
finds a way to
And they
be
always
just
get
as bad.
guys. They always get guys to be in the dunk contest. They're like G League dudes. That I'm like, I have no idea who you are. Like, why don't you getting like actual guys that can dunk?
And then they're shoving all of these celebrities in my face that I don't care about.
Yeah, the celebrity game, and
It's
they're
like if I want to watch like the Black Entertainment Television Music Awards, like I'd watch that. I'm trying to watch the All-Star Game and the dunk contest, and I want to see these guys. So
yeah, that
here
is
we
true.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I still believe that the MLB All Star Weekend is the only one that's good. I still believe that's the only one that's
Even with
decent.
just the Derby and the game, I think you're right. I would take MLB's All-Star Weekend right now over all the others.
I really would. I really would.
Mhm.
But final last thing before we go is that I did hear today that Jurgen Klopp, if you're a soccer fan, hey, we're talking about two types of football today, Josh. We're making it. Jurgen Klopp of Liverpool has said that he's retiring at the end of the year, or not retiring, but he's leaving the club, which is big shockwaves to I know a lot of soccer fans, Liverpool fans as well. So, anyways, that is the craziness of sports, and I'm sure we can get into more of that. Maybe Jared can join the show. Who knows? But we will talk about that maybe in
Yeah,
the
you're gonna
future.
have to bring somebody else. I got
Yeah,
nothing
because
on that,
we
dude.
know nothing. Yeah, we know nothing. But anyways, I hope you guys had an amazing time listening to us, our beautiful voices. We are truly the face of podcasts everywhere. And sorry, that was just a bad joke. But I do hope you guys have a great weekend. If you love watching the episode on YouTube, go ahead and click that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you love listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, share that link with friends and family and make us part of your weekend or the day that you listen to us, whatever that might be. But anyways, hope you guys have a great weekend. And until next time, we'll see ya.